I died, choking on my own blood, the salty tang of Pacific spray mixing with the coppery flood in my throat, as my mother's manicured nails dug into my shoulders, shoving me backward over the cliffside railing of the very resort I'd bled every dime to build. "You think you can cut me out, Dahlia? After everything," she'd hissed, her face twisted into something feral. Not the polished socialite I'd once called Mom. The fall was mercifully quick, 30 feet of freefall into jagged rocks and churning foam. But the betrayal? That lingered like a ghost, replaying in the split second before my skull cracked open like an overripe coconut. And then, nothing. Blackness. The kind that swallows screams. When my eyes snapped open, I wasn't staring at the gulls wheeling over my mangled corpse. I was in my shitty studio apartment in San Diego, the one with the peeling wallpaper and the neighbor's reggae tone blasting through the walls at 3 a.m. My hands, younger, unscarred, gripped the edges of a Formica kitchenette counter, and the date on my cracked iPhone screen read July 15th, 2017. 8 years back. Before the lawsuits. Before the exile. Before I'd clawed my way from nothing to own Eclipse Bay Resort, only for her to torch it all. Holy shit. I'd been reborn.
重生
As those Vietnamese ghost stories my grandma used to whisper called it. But this wasn't some poetic second chance at love or redemption.
No.
This was a loaded Glock pressed to my temple, courtesy of fate or whatever sadistic deity ran the cosmic roulette. Mom, Victoria Goddamn Harrington, hadn't just stolen my legacy last time. She'd orchestrated the whole damn unraveling, starting with that family dinner in 2017 where she'd planted the seeds of my downfall. I remembered it now, crystal clear, the way her eyes had flicked to my brother, Ethan, like he was the golden heir and I was the disposable spare. The accident that followed, framing me for embezzlement from Dad's estate, all her. And the final push off that cliff, the cherry on her sundae of spite. I laughed then,
a raw,
jagged sound that echoed off the thin walls. The neighbor banged on the shared pipe. Fuck him. This time, I wasn't playing the dutiful daughter. This time, I'd burn their empire before they could touch mine. Starting with the truth I'd buried deep last life. Dad didn't die of a heart attack in that yacht mishap. Mom had dosed a scotch with enough fentanyl to drop an elephant, all to cash in on the insurance and reroute the Harrington fortune to her and Ethan's pet projects. I'd found the vial in her vanity after his funeral, tucked behind the Chanel No.
5.
But I'd chickened out. Told myself it was grief playing tricks. Buried it like the coward I was. Not anymore. The next morning, I called in sick to my barista gig at that hipster coffee joint in La Jolla, overpriced lattes for trust fund brats who didn't know a real grind from their daddy's Amex. Instead, I pawned Grandma's heirloom necklace, the jade pendant she'd smuggled from Hanoi during the fall. It fetched $2,500, enough for a Greyhound ticket north and a deposit on a room in Eclipse Bay, that forgotten stretch of Oregon coast where the waves hit like Judgment Day. Why there? Because in my first life, that's where I'd found solace after Mom's big reveal. A dive bar gig turned into scraping together investors for the resort. Eclipse Bay, 50 acres of crumbling cliffs and driftwood beaches, bought for a song from a bankrupt developer. I turned it into a boutique haven, farm-to-table dining, yoga retreats for Silicon Valley burnouts, suites with views that made you forget your ex's name. But this time, I'd fast-track it. No waiting for the exile to gut me first. I had the blueprint in my head, every permit loophole, every shady contractor who'd cut corners for cash under the table. Hell, I even remembered the exact stock tip from that Wall Street Whisper Network biotech firm on the verge of FDA approval that had ballooned my seed money tenfold. By week's end, I was in a musty motel overlooking the bay, laptop glowing with spreadsheets. Dahlia and Gwyn Harrington Properties, I typed into the LLC filing. Hyphenated. Yeah, kept the Harrington shine for leverage, but Gwyn for the grit. Grandma's blood ran fiercer than Mom's deluded wasp lies anyway. Word spread fast in a town of 1,200 souls. By month 2, I'd charmed the local realtor, old Hank with his thermos of bourbon-laced coffee, into spilling the resort's dirt, liens from the previous owner's Ponzi scheme. Environmental holdups from eco-activists who'd chained themselves to the pines. I wined and dined the county commissioner at the only decent seafood spot, dropping just enough Harrington name to grease palms without raising flags. Families in real estate back east, I lied smoothly, swirling my Pinot Noir. This, just dipping a toe in the Pacific. He chuckled. Signed off on the variances next day. Meanwhile, back in San Diego, the family empire chugged on oblivious. I monitored them like a hawk via hacked email chains, yeah? I'd taught myself basic phishing from those dark web forums in my first life. Post-betrayal paranoia at its finest. Mom was knee-deep in her latest scheme, flipping Dad's old vineyard into a sustainable spa retreat. All greenwashing bullshit to launder the insurance payout. Ethan, the golden boy, was prepping for his MBA at Wharton, schmoozing donors with tales of our tragic family history. And me, in their inboxes, I was already the black sheep, painted as the flaky half-Vietnamese stepchild who'd abandoned them after Dad's death. Stepchild. That's what she'd called me in private, after marrying into the Harringtons when I was 5. As if loving me made her less of a monster. I struck first with an anonymous tip to the IRS, flagged inconsistencies in the vineyard's tax filings. The kind only an insider would spot. Nothing lethal. Just enough to trigger an audit that'd tie them up for months. Watched the fallout from afar, Mom's frantic text to her lawyer. Ethan's canceled interviews. Guilt flickered once. Ethan was a pawn. After all, groomed to worship her. But then I remembered his smirk at my trial, the way he'd testified I'd forged Dad's will. Pawn or not, he was complicit. By fall, Eclipse Bay Resort was mine. Closing day, I stood on the bluffs, wind whipping my hair, and signed the papers with a Mont Blanc I'd borrowed from Dad's desk years ago. $1.2 million, peanuts compared to the $50 mill it'd appraise at peak. Renovations kicked off, gutted the main lodge into open-plan lofts with shiplap walls and reclaimed wood accents. The kind of coastal chic that screamed Instagram gold. Hired a crew of locals, ex-fishermen with calloused hands and zero tolerance for bullshit, overpaying them to build loyalty. This ain't just bricks, folks, I told them over bonfire beers. It's a middle finger to anyone who ever counted you out. The first guests trickled in that winter, a yoga instructor fleeing a messy divorce. A tech couple from Portland seeking authenticity. Reviews poured in. 5 stars for the Seaview tubs. The organic kelp scrubs at the spa. Revenue hit 6 figures by spring 2018. I was 28. Untethered. Alive in a way I'd forgotten. Nights, I'd walk the beach alone. Boots crunching shells, plotting the next move. Mom's audit dragged on, bleeding her dry. Ethan's Wharton dreams fizzled when scholarships dried up amid the scandal. Good. Let them taste exclusion. But karma's a tease. April 2019. My phone buzzed with a blocked number. I answered on a whim, and her voice slithered through. Dahlia? Baby? It's Mom. The word baby hit like battery acid. She was crying real tears. Or the performative kind she'd weaponized since I was a kid. Things are complicated here. Your brother. The business. We need you. I need you. I gripped the receiver till my knuckles whitened, staring out at the fog-shrouded waves. In my first life, I'd caved. Flown home, played the prodigal daughter, only for her to twist the knife deeper. This time, complicated how? Mom, enlighten me. She launched into the sob story, audits, lawsuits, Ethan's breakdown, omitted the part where she'd spiked Dad's drink. Of course. Come back.
Dahlia.
The Harrington name, it's yours too. We can fix this together. Fix this. As if I were the broken one. Rage boiled up, hot and familiar, but I swallowed it. Voice honeyed.
Tell you what.
Fly out here. See what I've built. Then we'll talk family. She arrived 2 weeks later, stepping off the puddle jumper in Louboutins that sank into the gravel lot like her entitlement. Thinner than I remembered. Botox smooth face cracking at the edges with worry lines she couldn't afford to fill. I met her at the resort's porte-cochere, arms crossed, in jeans and a flannel that screamed, I don't need your approval. Dahlia, she breathed, air kissing my cheeks. Up close, she smelled of Chanel and desperation. This place. It's stunning. You always had that eye for potential. Like your father. Like Dad. The lie stung, but I smiled. Sharp as sea glass. Tours this way. Welcome to Eclipse Bay. We started in the lobby. Vaulted ceilings with exposed beams I'd sourced from a salvaged shipwreck. A massive stone fireplace crackling against the coastal chill. Mom cooed over the details, trailing manicured fingers along the brass bar top like she owned it. Darling, this could be huge. With the right investors, Harrington investors, it'd be the next montage. Her eyes gleamed, calculating. Already, she was envisioning her cut, her clawback into power. I led her through the grounds, the infinity pool hugging the cliff edge, where my first life she'd staged my suicide after spiking my wine with roofies. No railing back then, my oversight.
Now?
Floor-to-ceiling glass panels. Impenetrable. Safety first, I said casually, watching her sip the mimosa I'd poured light on purpose. No accidents today. She probed gently at first, how I'd funded it solo. No family strings attached. I fed her half-truths. Grandma's inheritance. Some angel investors from a pitch in Portland. Omitted the biotech windfall I'd timed to the penny. Or the offshore account I'd siphoned from Dad's forgotten Cayman trusts. Funds she'd never known about because I'd hidden them last life.
Post-discovery.
Her laugh tinkled like breaking ice. Always the resourceful one. But why hide away here? San Diego's buzzing. Ethan's interning at Goldman now, well, buzz. Before the mess. He misses you. You know.
Misses me.
The brother who'd signed affidavits calling me a fraud. Who'd watched firefighters pull my body from the surf without a flinch. Ethan's a big boy. He'll land on his feet. We paused at the spa. Steam rising from the eucalyptus-infused hot tubs. A couple emerged, towels wrapped, glowing. Mom's gaze lingered, envious. This is wasted on hippies. Think luxury celebrity retreats. Private jets on the helipad. The helipad. She'd eyed it in my first life too, plotting her escape after the murder. I steer her to the dining terrace instead, where chef-prepared oysters glistened under string lights. Over lunch, Dungeness crab salad. Heirloom tomatoes from the on-site farm, she cracked. The audit had snowballed. Federal probes into the vineyard's creative accounting, whispers of fraud linking back to Dad's estate. They think I did something wrong.
Dahlia. Me.
After all I've sacrificed. Tears welled. Artfully. Your father. He left debts. I was just protecting us. Protecting us. The words ignited the fuse. I leaned in, voice low. Debts like the ones from his yacht trip? The one where you held his hand till the end? Her fork paused midair. Fork tines glinting. What are you implying? I slid the photo across the table, grainy printout from a deep web dive. Time-stamped the night of Dad's death. Mom on the yacht deck, vial in hand, pouring clear liquid into his tumbler while he dozed in the Adirondack. I'd found the original hidden in her safe last life, but digitized it before she could destroy evidence. Her face drained of color, lipstick stark against paling lips. Where did you get this? Doesn't matter. What matters is motive. Fentanyl's a hell of a way to say goodbye.
Mom.
Insurance payout was what? $10 bill? Wired straight to your consulting firm. She recovered fast. That viper instinct. Fabricated. Deepfake bullshit from one of your conspiracy forums. You're stressed, baby. This isolation, it's twisting you. But her hands trembled as she pushed the plate away. If you breathe a word, it'll destroy us all. The Harrington name? Screw the name, I snapped. Louder than intended. Heads turned from nearby tables. I dialed it back, smiling for the audience. You destroyed me first. 8 years ago, you started whispering to the lawyers, painting me as the gold digger stepkid. Framed me for siphoning estate funds, funds you were already bleeding dry. I lost everything.
Friends.
Future. And you got the vineyard, the Hamptons co-op, Ethan's tuition. Her eyes darted, assessing escape routes. The terrace overlooked the beach, waves gnashing like teeth. I did it for the family. You were difficult. Always questioning, digging into things best left buried. Like your father's accident. Accident, I echoed. Bitter. You dosed him because he was cutting you out of the will. Revised it weeks before, leaving me the bulk. Ethan a trust. You zilch if you remarried that golf pro. I found the draft in his desk. She went still. A deer in high beams. Then, the pivot. Dahlia, please. I'm your mother. Blood, well, chosen blood. Help me. Let me stay here, just till it blows over. I can run the books.
Charm your guests.
Make this place shine.
Stay here.
The words echoed my first death, her begging in my office. Me relenting. Her slipping the pills into my evening tea. Move in? To my resort? After you killed my father and exiled me? Exiled? I gave you freedom. Her voice rose. Shrill. You were suffocating under that Nguyen shadow, your grandmother's superstitions. Her Trung Sin nonsense. I made you a Harrington. Grandma's stories. The ones about souls reborn to right wrongs. Ghosts with grudges. Mom had mocked them, burned her prayer incense as pagan trash. But here I was, living proof. I stood, tossing my napkin. Freedom? You mean disposability. Get out. Before I call the feds myself. She didn't leave quietly. That night, as fog rolled in thick as regret, I found her in the wine cellar, my private stock, locked with a code she'd guessed from my birthday, sobbing into a bottle of Dad's favorite Cabernet. Dahlia. I was scared. He was leaving me for her, some intern half my age. The money was security. For Ethan. For us.
Us.
Never me. But pity wormed in. Treacherous. In my first life. This was the crack, the sob story that let her back in. I hardened against it. Security built on murder?
No.
Pack your bags. Flights at dawn. She lunged then, not with nails this time, but words like shrapnel. You think you're better? This resort's a house of cards. I know about your investors, ghosts you paid off with Harrington scraps. One call to the SEC, and poof. Back to slinging coffee. She dug too. While I spied, she'd countered, hired a PI, probably, sniffing my finances. The biotech tip? Borderline insider. If you squinted. My heart hammered. Try it. See how fast that photo hits every news desk from here to DC.
Stalemate.
She retreated to the guest suite, slamming the door like a guillotine. I paced the bluffs till dawn, salt air burning my lungs. Revenge tasted sour, necessary, but it hollowed you out. By morning, she'd charmed the staff over breakfast, doling compliments like candy, positioning herself as the benevolent matriarch. Guests ate it up. She was Victoria Harrington. After all, with her society page clippings I'd framed ironically in the lobby. Ethan arrived that afternoon, unannounced. Lanky in khakis and a polo, looking every bit the frat boy air. Sis, he drawled, hugging me stiffly. Mom hovered behind, triumphant. Heard you needed family backup. Backup. Or infiltration. Over sunset cocktails, mine virgin. They're spiked, I watched them work the room. Mom regaling a venture capitalist about synergies, Ethan schmoozing the eco group with green promises. They were good. I'll give em that. By nightfall, offers trickled in, buyouts, partnerships, all laced with their strings. I played along, feigning thaw. Late that night, in the library lounge, leather armchairs by a crackling fire, I confronted Ethan alone. You knew, didn't you, about Dad? He swirled his scotch, eyes on the flames. Knew what? That Mom was in over her head?
Yeah.
But ratting her out? That'd kill her. And us. He met my gaze. Finally. You're playing a dangerous game.
The
Resort's hot now. But one slip. Like the slips you covered? Falsifying ledgers to pin the embezzlement on me. His flinch confirmed it. You were 22. Scared kid. I get it. But you chose her. We all choose sides. He drained his glass. Question is, which side are you on now? The question gnawed as I locked up, waves thundering below. Mom's presence was poison ivy, beautiful, insidious, creeping into every corner. Staff whispered about her generous tips, guests booked extensions for her fascinating stories. My resolve frayed. Isolation had been my armor. But family? It was the chink. Then came the first sabotage. A week in, the infinity pool's filtration failed, glass panels fogging with algae bloom. Engineer blamed supply chain glitch, but I found the tampered valve in the pump house. Initials YH. Scratched faint on the casing. Ethan. Subtle. Deniable. Mom stewing. No doubt, testing waters. Seeing if I'd crack. I didn't confront. Instead, I escalated. Anonymous email to the DA's tip line. Coordinates on the vineyard's buried barrels of unpermitted pesticides. Photos attached. Eco-activists descended like locusts, chaining to the vines. Mom's phone exploded with crisis calls. She paced the deck, screaming at lawyers. This is you, isn't it? She spat at dinner that night, face a mask of fury. My own daughter, turning on me like a rabid dog. Rabid, I laughed.
Cold.
That's rich. Coming from the woman who pushed me off a cliff. The table froze. Ethan choked on a steak. A guest couple exchanged glances. Mom recovered with a brittle smile. Jet-lag jokes. Darlings. Dahlia's always had a flair for drama. But the seed was planted. Whispers spread, guests Googling, Harrington scandal, staff side-eyeing her. I pressed, leaked the audit docs to a podcaster sniffing estate murders, framing it as concerned source. Her empire crumbled in real time, creditors circling, Ethan ghosting interviews. Yet she dug in, refusing to leave. You owe me, she'd hiss in passing. Breath, whiskey sour. I raised you. Gave you a name. Raised me. On lies and sedatives. The tension coiled tighter. A spring ready to snap. I installed cameras every hall, every deck. Paranoia my new normal. Slept with a taser under the pillow. Dreams replaying the fall. Her hands. The void. The crack. One stormy night. Lightning fracturing the sky. She cornered me in the wine cellar. Rain lashed the windows like accusations. End this.
Dahlia.
Or I will. In her fist. A syringe, insulin. Swiped from the infirmary kit. Quick and clean. They'll call it an overdose, your history of stress. History she'd fabricated. I backed against the racks. Heart slamming.
Do it.
But know this. The truth's already out. Cops have the vial analysis from Dad's autopsy. Fentanyl traces I tipped off last month. Your prints matched the yacht glass. Ethan's too. From helping clean up. Bluff. Half of it the analysis was pending, but her eyes widened. Syringe wavering. Thunder boomed. She lunged. I sidestepped. Glass shattering as the needle plunged into a Merlot bottle. Red bloomed like blood, soaking her dress. She crumpled, wailing not pain, but defeat.
Why?
I did it for love. For security. Love, I echoed, dialing 911. Yours was always conditional. Cops hauled her away at dawn. Ethan trailing in a daze, muttering about bail. The resort buzzed scandal fodder, but the kind that drew morbid tourists. Bookings spiked 30%. I stood on the deck, watching patrol cars fade into the mist, and felt empty. Revenge delivered, but the victory lap was a dirge. Twist came via certified letter. Weeks later, Grandma's lawyer, unbeknownst to Mom, had stashed a codicil to Dad's will. Not just the Caymans, a clause naming me sole heir to the Harrington core assets if familial malfeasance surfaced. Malfeasance, murder qualified. Vineyard.
Co-op.
All mine. Ethan got a pittance, enough for therapy. Maybe. But the real gut punch? A locket inside. Engraved. For Dahlia, my true legacy. Forgive the delays, Dad. Inside, a tiny jade phoenix strung sin symbol. He'd suspected. prepared. Eclipse Bay hummed under summer sun, a phoenix of my own making. The sabotage attempt ceased with Mom's indictment, federal charges stacking like driftwood, manslaughter, fraud, conspiracy. Ethan flipped state's evidence for a plea, spilling details I'd only half suspected, her grooming him since teens, coaching the frame jobs, even the roofies in my tea that first life. She said it was mercy, he confessed in the deposition video, eyes hollow. Ending your suffering before the truth broke you.
Mercy.
The word haunted court TV clips, fueling the media circus. Heiress slang, Harrington widow's dark secrets expose. Pundits dissected it, Fox calling it coastal elite rot, CNN pinning it on toxic inheritance. I dodged interviews, but the resort? It thrived on the notoriety. True crime pods booked out the library lounge for immersive readings. Influencers posed on the bluffs. Hashtagging Eclipse Redemption. Revenue doubled, then tripled. I expanded. Eco cabins on the North Bluff. A helipad for the whales. Whales of the monetary kind, not the cetacean. Yet success chafed like sand in a wetsuit. Nights. I'd wake sweating. The fall replaying. Her shove. The winds howl. Impact like judgment. Therapy helped. Portland shrink specializing in atypical trauma, who didn't blink at my past life slips. Reincarnation's just metaphor for unresolved grief, she'd say. Bullshit. I knew the dates, the scents, the screams. But I let her prescribe the chamomile tea, nodding along. Vulnerability? That was Mom's game. Ethan resurfaced in fall. Post-plea. Letter first. Sis.
I'm sorry.
Rehab in Sedona, 90 days. Then community college. Can I visit? No strings. Strings. Always strings. But blood's a stubborn tide. I invited him up. Neutral ground. The beach at low tide. Fire pit crackling with driftwood. He looked wrecked, buzz cut. Tattoos peeking from flannel sleeves. The polish stripped. You built an empire from ashes, he said, poking embers. I envied that. Mom always said you were the threat, the one who'd unravel it all. Because I saw through her. We stared at the surf, foam hissing secrets. You could have stopped it. After Dad.
He winced.
I was 18. She was God.
But yeah.
Cowardice.
Pause.
The will, Dad knew. Told me months before. Made me promise to protect you. I broke it. The phoenix locket burned against my chest. He bet on the wrong horse. Maybe. But you're riding now. Teach me? Not the revenge shit, the building. I studied him. Searching for the snake. Found a flicker, remorse.
Raw.
One condition. Testify clean. No more lies. He nodded. And for the first time, I saw the brother. Not the pawn. We rebuilt slow. Him handling groundskeeping. Learning the ropes. Staff grumbled at first, Harrington spawn. But his work ethic won them. By winter, he pitched the first expansion, veteran retreats, using Dad's old sailing gear for team-building sales. Controversial? Hell yes. War stories on a Zen resort drew protests from peaceniks. I greenlit it anyway. Let M argue. Authenticity sold. Mom's trial hit peak circus spring 2020. Virtual. Thanks to the plague, ironic. Her empire felled by invisible foes like the one she'd wielded. I testified, remotely. Voice steady, the photo. The vial. The shove from my dreams. Her lawyer spun it delusional daughter. Munchausen by proxy, but the forensics nailed her. Residue on the yacht tumbler. Transaction logs for the fentanyl via a shell pharmacy. Ethan corroborated. Voice cracking on the stand feed. Verdict: guilty. 25 to life. No parole. She wrote from county lockup, pre-transfer to Chowchilla. Dahlia, my phoenix. I was wrong. But you're the monster now. Excluding me, your own blood.
Blood.
Chosen, she'd said. I burned the letter on the bluffs. Ashes scattering to the wind.
Monster?
Maybe. But monsters don't rebuild. The twist lingered, though not in court, but in the mirror. One dawn, post-trial, I found the locket open on my nightstand. Inside the Phoenix, a microSD card, tucked in the jade's hollow. Dad's voice. Digitized confession. If you're hearing this, Vix made her move. Dahlia. Kiddo, don't hate her. She was broken long before me. Use this to rise. And forgive. If you can. Love. Pop. Forgive. The word lodged like a splinter. I played it on loop during yoga on the deck, guests downward dogging oblivious, tears mixing with sweat. Forgiveness wasn't absolution, it was release. I forgave Dad for the secrets, Ethan for the blindness. Mom, that came harder. In pieces, therapy sessions dissecting her own traumas, abusive debutante mother, shotgun wedding to a Harrington patriarch who saw her as arm candy. Cycle unbroken till I snapped it. By 2021, Eclipse Bay was a force, Forbes hot spots, Michelin nods for the farm-to-fork menu. I mentored locals, women like me, hyphenated hustlers, through microloans for startups. Ethan graduated community college, launched a eco-tour company offsite. We weren't close, not like blood should be, but we were allies. Family, redefined. The controversial calls, they defined me. I greenlit the veteran program despite backlash. Hosted a Harrington Healing Retreat, victims of white-collar crime sharing war stories over bonfires. Critics called it exploitative, I called it catharsis. One night, a guest, an ex-DA with insider scars, pulled me aside. Heard about your mom. Ballsy. Testifying. Most would have buried it. Buried, I echoed, staring at the stars pricking the velvet sky. Tried that once. Led to my grave. He chuckled, thinking metaphor. I didn't correct.
Now.
2025. I stand on that deck again, railing reinforced, glass gleaming. Waves crash eternal. Indifferent. The resort's booked solid. Tech bros. Influencers. A senator's mistress seeking discretion. Mom's appeals drag on.
Agosti in Legalese.
Ethan visits Sundays. Grilling salmon. Trading barbs. Think she'll ever get it? He asked last time, nodding at the horizon. Get what? That love isn't a ledger? He shrugged. Or that you won.
Won.
The words sat heavy. I'd reclaimed the fortune. The name, hell. The life. But victory's a solitary peak. The climb scars deeper than the fall. Grandma's voice echoes in the wind. Trung Sin isn't revenge.
Gone guy?
It's balance. Balance. Maybe that's the real hook, dying to live true. I turn from the sea, guests laughing in the distance, and head inside. The fire's lit, wine decanted. Another night, Another chance to choose grace over grudge. As for Mom, if she shows paroled, penitent begging that door, I'll listen. But the key's mine now.